Hey there, Kaneisha Grayson, founder and CEO of The Art of Applying, here with our client Abhi to talk about his amazing school results. What are we celebrating today, Abhi?
We are celebrating a couple acceptances into some of my dream graduate schools, Georgetown, Johns Hopkins, and a dual degree program between the London School of Economics and Columbia University. So really, really excited with all of that.
I am very, very excited with all of that as well. Tell us about the money.
Yeah, so I got a full ride at Johns Hopkins, which is really, really incredible. Just heard back from Georgetown too, and they're looking into giving me more funding after hearing about the full ride from Hopkins. Yeah. Same with Columbia, so hopefully even more there. But yeah, just super excited with those results and everything that the Art of Applying has been able to help me with.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And so, Abhi, after this interview offline, we can chat a little bit about the financial aid appeal process, but then also we've got lots of resources. Yep. So make sure you use them. Okay, good. And we actually just scheduled a bonus coaching call for all of you. So cool. Literally just right before the call. So then you'll get a info about that. And so make sure you show up to that call and bring questions and bring your financial aid appeal letter, all that stuff. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so Abhi, tell us the stats you're comfortable sharing about your applicant profile. So we want to know things like age, where you went to school, what you studied, GPA, test scores, work experience, whatever, demographic, psychographic, whatever about yourself you would want to share with people that the viewers who are watching the grad school hopefuls would want to be able to kind of compare themselves to you.
For sure. So a little bit of background about me. I'm 25 now, but when I submitted most of these applications, I was 24. Grew up right outside of Chicago, but I've lived kind of all over, including abroad. I did my undergrad at the University of Southern California. I majored in international relations with a minor in economics. I had a 3.53 GPA and a major GPA of, I believe, about a 3.7. And then I also took the GRE, even though it wasn't required from a couple of my schools, and submitted scores with a quantitative score of 157 and a verbal score of 165, and then a 6 on the writing portion.
Very nice.
Yes.
Nope. Keep going.
Okay. A couple other things about my background. Yeah, I have been working for just over 2.5 years, about a little bit over 2 years when I was actually applying at a digital strategy firm in Washington, D.C. I moved there right after graduating college, so have a little bit of work experience there. Definitely not completely related to what I was applying to my graduate degree for. So it was really exciting to have the Art of Applying to kind of help me weave that story and really hone in on exactly what my schools were looking for too.
Okay, excellent. Well said. So, Abhi, what was the application process like before you started working with the Art of Applying? What was difficult and what wasn't working?
So before I started working with Art of Applying, I wasn't even 1,000% sure if I was going to apply to graduate school this cycle. I knew I definitely wanted to go, and I've always kind of wanted to go to graduate school, but was definitely intimidated by the process. I did my entire undergraduate process entirely myself. My mom did go to 4 years of undergrad college, but a very long time ago and abroad, so it was a completely different process for her. And then my dad actually had not gone to college, so I didn't have a lot of family support in the process. And your undergrad process is scary enough. Grad school, I feel like there are far fewer resources generally available, and there's kind of even more hoops to jump through. So definitely was a bit intimidated by the process overall. I think it was a little bit difficult sometimes to narrow down that school list, to really put timelines on a lot of the things I wanted to do, and take a lot of these very disparate parts of my story and weave a connective thread through all of them. I think before I even started working with the Art of Applying, I think I even saw a lot of my experiences as very separate and kind of away from each other. But with my consultant, I was able to help put those together and actually realize that a lot of them fed into each other. I think it was also kind of a great opportunity to take a look back at my story and present that in the best way possible.
I love hearing that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, ways you've grown from working with us. And so how did you find the Art of Applying and what inspired you to reach out?
So I found the Art of Applying from a YouTube video. So it was just kind of one of those videos I was going through while going through the grad school research process. I'm sure a lot of you watching probably go through a similar process where you're checking message boards and forums and every video website imaginable, and just kind of looking for anything you can find on tips or tricks on how to get into your dream schools. So I found a video over there, kind of followed that over to the website and read through several of the testimonials from people who had also gotten into some of their dream programs, and then set up a call from there to kind of move forward. I think just being able to read and hear from so many other students of diverse backgrounds who were able to work with the art of applying was really, really comforting, great to hear. And they had just nothing but great words to say about it. And well, I'm here now. So obviously, I had a similar experience there as well, and happy to have had it.
Oh, how beautiful. I love that you found us via YouTube. And like now, a year later, you are another person who's going to be added to the library of the success stories. So
It's really a full circle moment.
it's a real full circle moment. I love that. So what was your experience like on the breakthrough call?
Yeah, so the breakthrough call helped me kind of learn a lot about the process and even my own story that I don't think I even expected kind of going in. I wasn't completely sure of what to expect going into that breakthrough call, but I knew that kind of this was my first step that I was taking towards committing towards myself and investing in my future graduate education and my future overall. So going into that breakthrough call was a little nervous for sure. And I think going out of it, I could not be more kind of excited about the process coming up. There was a lot of kind of opportunities over on that call to share a little bit about my story and talk through kind of how I was thinking of my graduate program right away. And I think it was just very comforting to have kind of someone to talk to about that in the first place. And of course, I decided to work with the art of applying. But I think one thing that call did give me right away was a lot of confidence in myself. I think, especially for applicants from diverse backgrounds, we kind of come into this with a lot of imposter syndrome. There's a lot of times where we think, oh, we aren't the type of person that a school is looking for, or that we don't have as much to add to a program as some other people along the way. But I think going through that breakthrough call really helped instill that sense of confidence in me that I think proved pivotal throughout the application process.
Beautiful. And let's see. Were you nervous or scared to make the investment? So at the end of the call, when they invite you to work with us and they're like, okay, here are the options, here's the different levels. I know you said you were so excited about moving forward, but was there any fear or doubt?
Definitely. I think part of that came from even choosing what type of program I'd like to work with and the type of kind of investment and resources I needed. I think definitely at the beginning, there was a lot of questions that I had, which were answered so promptly and quick and amazingly that helped me kind of dissuade some of that nervousness along the way. But I think in general, just applying for graduate school is a time where you're really investing in yourself and you're kind of betting on much more than just what's going to happen over the next 2 years, but you're really kind of making a play for your future career goals and life path. So I think that had a lot to do with it. But I think one thing that kind of helped in that regard was also being able to look back at some of these videos and hear from other students as well, both students of similar backgrounds to me and those who were completely different and still had really incredible experiences too.
Yes, yes. And that is why I think we started recording these client case studies maybe in the last three years or so, because I was just like, well, first of all, these stories are amazing, right? People go from thinking, I'm not even going to apply, or I'm not sure I'm going to apply, to getting a full ride at Johns Hopkins. Like, so, and then all the kind of doubts and fears that you may need help navigating in between. And then also just, you mentioned the diverse backgrounds. I think that imposter syndrome is so powerful that I feel like almost no matter what your background is, people find a way to be like, I'm not who they want,
Sure.
like the students that are from like a white background are like, oh, I'm not an underrepresented person. I'm not what they want. Then the students that might be from the underrepresented background are like, but I'm not used to necessarily maybe these environments, or I don't have the same exact type of work experience, or my parents didn't go to the school. I'm not what the school wants. And so, yeah, it's just very important to me to show that our systems, our strategy, our program can help a lot of different types of people.
Absolutely. And I think as a queer South Asian applicant, there's not a lot of people exactly like me in policy programs. There might be a couple here and there, but it's definitely not the standard. So I think having the art of applying to kind of instill that confidence in me, but also kind of help me highlight the aspects of my application that really helped me stand out was invaluable along the process.
And one thing that I see come through sometimes in applicant profiles from queer applicants, and I would like to hear if this was a part of your engagement with us, is I don't know how much to talk about being queer and how that affected my life, my professions, my goals in my application. Like, we have moved past what it was like when I was applying, where it's like, can I even mention it? Right? We're past that part. But now it's like, how much do I mention it? How much do I talk about it? And that is something that our team feels very comfortable navigating with clients. I want to hear if you feel comfortable talking about it, if that is something you worked on with your consultant.
Absolutely. That's something that I think factored into pretty much every single one of my applications, because it's a very big part of my identity. And it's something that didn't receive the best advice about highlighting in my undergraduate application, but that I've kind of was able to do so in my graduate applications and in a lot of my story, because it's an aspect of my life that colors so much of who I am and the types of work I've done and where I want to be going in the future as well. So I think my consultant did a really great job of figuring out exactly where to highlight so many of those really pivotal experiences and how to do so in a way that felt natural to me as well, and really felt comfortable, which I appreciated so much.
Okay. And what was your favorite part about working with the Art of Applying?
I think my favorite part was probably just kind of comparing a lot of my essays from beginning to end. I took right before I was submitting my final applications, I took them and I put them side by side, and just kind of seeing the differences in the writing in a lot of the materials was incredible. It felt like on one hand I had the version of me that was kind of spewing out and getting forward, and then on the other hand there was the essay that I was submitting to the schools that really felt like a true reflection of who I was. And it made me feel really good about submitting the applications. I think even after you submit them, you get a lot of questions from people about whether now was the right time or how you feel about it, or do you think the essays you submitted were good? And with the undergraduate process, I think I was definitely kind of unsure of that along the way. I'd be like, oh, I think maybe they were good. I'm not sure. But coming out of this process, even before I had received a single decision, I remember telling my parents, my friends, that I felt really confident in what had been submitted, and that regardless of the result, I felt really, really good about the applications that I had put forward.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that. It is really empowering to know that you're sending an application out to these admissions committees and that you have done your absolute very best. To me, that brings a sense of peace, because if I don't get in, then it just wasn't meant to be, because this was the best, the best I had to offer. And I really love hearing that. And I've heard that from other clients as well. This feeling of whatever happens with the results, I crushed this, and I feel really good about how I showed up.
For sure. And I think because of this, I'm just so much better at communicating my own story now, just generally. Even some of the editing skills that I've learned along with my consultant throughout the process are just ones that I'll continue to apply to writing, not only in graduate school, but across the board. I think I'm just so much better at telling my own story and really advocating for myself now. And I really, really appreciate everything that's brought me.
Beautiful. So actually, that is basically leads into my next question is, what did you learn about yourself and how did you grow as a result of going through this process with us?
For sure. So I think my background to me felt a little bit kind of disparate and unconnected. So in college itself, I focused a lot on international relations, kind of moved into China policy. I did very different internships throughout college. I interned at a UN office one summer. I interned on a think tank another summer. I was on a political campaign one summer, and none of that really felt super connected to me. So I think after the job market, I kind of went on with the most recent experience and latched onto that. And then I ended up working at a digital strategy firm. And I was like, okay, when I applied to graduate school, especially for foreign policy, none of this is going to make sense together. But then I think what my consultant was able to help me do, especially considering the fact that she had experience in the industry I was working in and at the schools I was applying to, had met many students from schools like that, knew exactly what they were looking for. She was able to help me weave the parts of my story that had kind of the similarities together, and also highlight some of the differences that helped make the application stand out. So it went from me feeling like I had all these disparate parts to creating a really cohesive thread that kind of tied together a lot of parts of my identity, as well as my interest in foreign policy and public service throughout the entire application. So I think at the beginning, I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And by the end, I had this really powerful story about disinformation and the internet and how I kind of used that as a college student to really empower communities around me, and how I've taken that to a global level, and especially with my work in the last couple of years, and how I want to take it even further in graduate school. And I think being able to do that in my essays also helped set me up for the process right now where I'm deciding between schools, and I can kind of use that lens to filter my decisions through.
I love it. And also carry with you that confidence and that cohesive
Yes.
personal and professional story into your summer internship
Mhm.
and your full-time job search as well.
Absolutely.
And what do you say to someone who thinks that they need to get a strong GRE score before they reach out to us or before they work on their essays? I know that not all your programs require a score, but that's a very pervasive thought. Like, no, let me just focus on the test and then I'll focus on the essays and the rest of the application later. What would you say to that person?
I think one thing that helped me with the art of applying is the fact that right from the beginning, my consultant, other team members were kind of transparent about the weight of the GRE score in the process. I think some applicants tend to really prioritize those test scores and leave a lot of the other elements to the side, but they helped me kind of realize that a lot of this is really a holistic approach. And obviously, like, a good GRE score is not going to hurt your application, but it was definitely not the thing that every single application was resting on. I hadn't taken the GRE at all before I started working with the art of applying, and it was very helpful to kind of also just have the resources available from the team here and be able to kind of join some of those calls where we went over GRE practice questions and just get help on a lot of those different aspects, but also be able to, I had some technical difficulties when I first time taking the GRE, and being able to just kind of message my consultant and talk through the process with them and make a game plan was so helpful, especially since something like that can really throw off an applicant, especially when there's kind of a time crunch there. But I don't think that you necessarily need to have taken it yet at all, really, before working with the team. They're able to really kind of be honest with you and help you plan out schedules, kind of your target scores, and really hone in on the aspects of your application that you can highlight along with the GRE score.
And so you've gotten into these schools. We got a full ride. We're going to get some more money out of Columbia, get some more money out of Georgetown. I guess that's what's next for you. That was my next question. So I already answered it. But now that you've been accepted into these schools, what changes, improvements, or opportunities does this bring to your life and career?
This, in so many ways, my life is changing almost altogether. I love my job, but I've kind of been ready for something new for a while now. And I think having the confidence that the art of applying instilled in me has been perfect to be able to do that with. Graduate school for me is going to be a really exciting time. I've just spent the entire week at admitted student days, and just being able to meet the most incredible people from around the world who have also been admitted to these schools, and being able to kind of share my story with them has been so empowering. And now I have a problem, but a very good problem to have, where I have a lot of really great offers to kind of weigh out against each other and decide on the decision. I feel like this is the exact opposite of how I felt a couple years ago at undergrad. With there, I kind of felt like my school was like thrust into my lap and I was accepting it and going forward. And that and although I had a wonderful experience there, it's also it's so amazing to have all these options and be able to kind of weigh them out with my family, with my friends, with my professors, and be able to really make it the decision that's best for me.
And Abhi, you gave yourself these options by reaching out and asking for help. Yeah.
It's not easy to do. And I know it's much harder too when you come from like an immigrant background, when you come from a background where it's kind of, you're just kind of taught at a young age that like asking for help isn't something that we do, and we kind of just like power through it. But I could not have made a better decision in doing so. And I think that's a lesson too that's going to set me up for success in grad school and down the road as well. And I've already started to see the effects of that.
Absolutely. Like the mindset of investing in yourself, of when you invest in yourself, there is a return on that investment. It might be a really obvious one, like, literal money, but sometimes it's knowledge, connections, experiences you may not have had.
Mhm.
And I'm really glad that you're going into graduate school with that mindset, because those of us, like you say, I don't have an immigrant background, but like my parents, they grew up really poor and they worked on farms growing up. And like, I definitely grew up with the thought that like, you don't pay for anything you don't have to pay for.
For
So
sure.
like my dad still thinks it's crazy that I spend more than $30 on a pair of jeans, but sometimes that can be a very, what do they say, penny wise, pound foolish
Yep.
approach, because okay, maybe somebody saved few $1,000s by not getting help, but then you get into school and you didn't get a scholarship. So now you've got the whole
Yeah.
schooling to pay for. Or maybe you even get in and you get a half scholarship, but like maybe we could have helped you get a full scholarship, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And it can be really hard to take that leap of faith because it's not guaranteed. But the closest thing I can do to help people feel like it's guaranteed is to make these videos, right? And just
Absolutely.
be like,
Yeah.
there are 50 videos. Like
Yeah.
we got a full Netflix now of people. So just please believe that if it worked for them, it can work for you. Now, Abhi,
Mhm.
many months ago,
Yes.
you filled out your client intake form. And we asked you, who are the first 4 people you're going to tell when you get in? And you said, you're going to tell your parents, your sister, and your best friend from college. What happened when you told them about your amazing results?
So all my decisions kind of came pretty close together. I got one on like a Thursday, the next one the next day, and then the next one the week after on my birthday. So my mom was in tears at every single one. My dad was like screaming. My sister was so happy, and then my best friend, she was just thrilled because I think she was kind of one of those people too who like believed in me more than I believed myself, and she was just ecstatic and over the board. And now like it's so nice to be able to sit down with all these people in my life that I've told and kind of weigh out the options with them, and know that I really put my all into this process. And I don't think it can be understated too. With a lot of these schools, like being able to have that level of scholarship, obviously not easy to come by. And then it's able to kind of help me move forward with negotiations with the other schools too. And it's, you definitely turn heads when you say that to admissions officer when you're talking to them about potentially even negotiating aid with other schools, and they're definitely more willing to kind of look into it. So I just, if there are any applicants out there who feel pretty good about their applications, but definitely like are thinking of taking it to the next level too, I think doing so is so invaluable. And being able to enter a field like policy or public service with limited to no debt is such a rare and incredible experience. And it really just sets you up for success down the road and ensuring that you can do what you want to do and help more people out once you're actually in your career.
Love it. And your story is really important to have in this library of client success stories for a lot of reasons, but I particularly, as a male of South Asian descent, I think is very important. When you go on the forums, everywhere, all you see is stuff like, hey guys, I'm an Indian male. I don't know. Like, there's like, here's my stats. Do I have any chance? Right? There's this idea of there's too many male, in particular, Indian males applying to the top business schools, top policy schools. Forget about it. Right?
Wow.
And to be like, not only not forget about it, like, please apply. Like, reach out to us for help. We believe in you. We're not going to invite you to work with us if we don't. And like, you might not just get in, but you might get a full ride.
Yeah. And I think being able to kind of work with the consultants here, one thing that was really empowering for me is I always felt like those were parts of my application I kind of needed to like play down a little bit and just like not mention or just like kind of
Hope
gloss
they forget
over.
from page 1 to
Yeah.
7.
And it ended up being the exact opposite. I was kind of able to embrace that, which is also just, again, empowering just for me as an individual, but then was able to kind of show off some really important parts of myself on that application. And I just remember being so proud of all of those materials and essays going over. I still read them back sometimes just because they were just such great stories, and they are just incredible representations of who I am. And I just never thought I'd be able to kind of work with someone and produce that level of writing and content. I'm thrilled by it.
I am thrilled as well. So Abhi, those are my questions. If they're, what I always love to end on is sort of your encouragement to the person, that you were, right, back in fall 2022, when you were just like, should I apply? Is this for me? Can this work? Am I going to get in? I'm sure you weren't even on the level of, can I get money? We're just like, can I even get in?
Oh, yeah.
So there's one thing I want to say to you before you say your piece. the energy that I'm getting is from your interview is that this was a very important do-over for you.
Yep.
From your share and just like my intuition is that the college application process, you ended up at USC, you're very happy, you had a wonderful time in college, but there was maybe this thought of like, what if I had had more help, or what if I had been encouraged to apply to Columbia and when I was going to college. And that's what it feels like to me, is that you got a really like healing, important do-over to show like, yeah, I can hang, right? With like
Yeah.
that, like I'm an Ivy League caliber academic and professional, and like you weren't thinking wrong. That wasn't you like having this fantasy of what if, like that is true. And that you really got to, like you say, have your full circle moment.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's completely correct. And sometimes it's hard to, it's like what maybe you kind of think that about yourself, or you hope that about yourself. Your parent, I'm sure for a lot of applicants, your parents and your friends do. But you sometimes kind of fail to see that in the world. But being able to hear people who are familiar with this entire world say that to me and believe in me in that way was so incredibly helpful. It's definitely something that's changed my life in so many ways already, and is working with the art of applying is absolutely something I'd recommend to anyone. And I love doing it. Was such a refreshing process. Absolutely not like anything I would expect, in the best way. And yeah, I don't think I could have made a better decision back in October than this.
Yay. Wonderful, wonderful. Any last words for the person who is like, yeah, it worked for him, I don't know if it'll work for me. He's like more articulate than me. He's had better internships than me. I don't know.
I wish I could just show you some of the messages I have with some of my friends from back then, because I was saying the exact same things to my friends, to my family, to that maybe that this person has this, I don't, this person has this, I don't. But I think even from being at admitted student stage the last couple of weeks, what I've seen it firsthand is that there are so many people out there, including I'm sure the person watching this, with an amazing story to tell. It's just about figuring out the exact best way to tell it and the best points to hit on, the parts to highlight. And that's exactly what the art of applying can help you do. It really, I don't like to even think that it made me a different person. It kind of brought out who I really was and put that front and center for the admissions committees.
Beautiful, wonderful, awesome into my week. You have made my day and the beginning of my weekend. It's time for us to end the interview, and we'll chat offline a bit about your financial aid appeal process. Thank you for sharing your amazing story, Abhi.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Are you ready to take your application process to the next level? The Art of Applying helps you get into the graduate school of your dreams and get money to pay for it. Book a free quick call from the link in the description to get started. And subscribe to our channel for more application tips and success stories.